What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. The Super Bowl is now only 2 weeks away, so I figured since the NFC and AFC championship games are going on today, in fact, the AFC championship is going to be going on by the time this video goes out, I figured I'd upload a video talking about what the weather is going to be like around the time of the Super Bowl and see if see what's going to be happening, what potential hazards are going to be on the way, and most importantly, if you guys can watch the Super Bowl, and we'll answer all those questions right away. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get started with some of our forecast models over here. We're going to start with the climate models that we have pulled up right here. We're going to start kind of with the upper level dynamics right here and kind of see what we're potentially looking at. What we have right now is a bit of a trough setup right now for much of the central United States. Actually, no, it's not a trough, it's a ridge setup for much of the United States. What that essentially means is we're looking at warmer than average temperatures, we're looking at less extreme weather, and kind of just a chilled time for this point right here. This is for February 3rd, this is the week of the Super Bowl. We have a bit of a trough starting to enter much of the west coast right here on February 10th. For those of you who do not know, San Francisco is where the Super Bowl is going to be held this year, so we're going to have to pay attention to that, and we're looking at potentially another round of the atmospheric Pineapple Express going through much of California over here. If we go ahead and as we show you with the 500 millibar heights, we are looking at more of a trough setup for the west coast and kind of a ridge setup, although much weaker than what we were looking at a few days ago for parts of the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic over here. So we're going to have to pay attention to that as time continues to go on. We're looking at a pressure that's way below average right here. We're looking at potentially up to 10 millibars below average at 500, about 120 meters below average right here for the 500 millibar heights. If we go ahead and show you the mean sea level pressure anomalies with this is for next week. We have generally more low pressure than average, although we do have a high pressure system kind of in the Midwest over here. And then for parts of the United States right here, for the lower levels, we're seeing lower pressure than average, potential for some precipitation to happen across a lot of the West Coast, potentially for parts of New England, the Mid-Atlantic, even into parts of the deep south over here we're going to have to pay attention to right here. Now we're going to go ahead and show you the precip anomalies that we have pulled up. This is for February 3rd. This is for the week of February 10th. Super Bowl's the next day. And pretty much the average that we're looking at across the country, we're looking at more precipitable water than average for much of the United States, especially in the Great Plains and Midwest. Some as high as about an inch higher than average for that week. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. For the East Coast, we're seeing lower precipitable water than average, which means we could be seeing less snow. However, we've been seeing some more models that have been indicating a potential nor'easter in that area, so we're going to have to pay attention to that, and we'll show you that in just a second. But in the meantime, for much of California over here, LA is definitely looking like it's going to be getting some more rain, more flash flooding. San Diego had that really bad flash flood system happen back a little while. And then around the San Francisco Bay Area, it's going to be dependent on the spot, but we'll still pay very close attention to that. And here's the temperature anomalies that we have pulled up right here. What these indicate is it going to be warmer than average? Is it going to be colder than average? Are we going to see maybe some more rain than average? Are we going to see more snow than average? That kind of stuff right there. And for much of California and the West Coast, to be quite frankly, we're looking at much colder temperatures than average. Some as cold as 3.5 degrees Celsius below average, which is about 6 degrees Fahrenheit below average. So, for example, if San Francisco's average high is 50 degrees, it's going to be 44 degrees with that 6 degree below average situation. And for other parts over here, for parts of the Midwest, and even into parts of Wisconsin and Minnesota, we're looking at temperatures maybe up to 7, 8, 9 degrees above average Celsius, which is indicative of double-digit degrees of Fahrenheit above average. So we'll have to pay attention to that. So for Minneapolis, if the average around this time is like 10 degrees with like a 15-degree temperature anomaly above average, we're looking at maybe a high of 25 degrees. That's kind of how that works for a lot of the area. But for the Midwest, it looks like it's going to be mainly warmer than average right here. And even into parts of Texas, we're going to see warm or near average temperatures over there. So we're going to have to keep a very close eye on that. And now we're going to go ahead and show you some forecast models that we have pulled up. We're, of course, going to show you the three main systems models that we have right here since the Super Bowl is about 2 weeks away. Here's what we have with hazards for the GEM GDPS right here. We already have this system impacting much of New England. We covered that yesterday on Pat's Path Predictor, but we're talking more of a grander scope right here, so that's why we're using the continental United States system right here. We're going to be seeing some more lake effect snow and another system moving through Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana. Heck, the GEM GDPS wants a huge ice system to happen through much of the state. I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm not seeing that happening. I want to see what the temperature is going to be looking like. They are definitely cold for that to happen if the GEM GDPS is the correct model. But as you're going to see with other models, it's not going to be lining up perfectly. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. And then you have this thing moving through. Then you have San Francisco pretty much in the next few days getting hit by a really heavy rainstorm where the mountains see a lot more snow. And it goes from pretty much San Francisco all the way down to LA. San Diego is going to get some more rain. Their ground is already pretty saturated, so that may be causing some more significant flash flooding as that wave continues to move through. And then we're going to continue to see some mountain snow. And then this system starting to organize and develop around February 3rd off of Colorado, that Colorado low that we like to see. And then this system really ramps through. And the GEM GDPS, we were talking about yesterday with the European bringing some pretty heavy snowfall for much of the Mid-Atlantic and for much of New England. The GEM GDPS is bringing a similar situation for parts of Kentucky, West Virginia, North Carolina, even into Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey, as well as parts of Philadelphia over there. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. I want to see what the total snow accumulation is. Yeah, apparently this is having a lot of the DC area getting buried by snow, potentially over a foot of snow from this nor'easter system on Monday and Tuesday right here. We're going to have to pay attention to that, and I know this is just one model right here, and we've seen other European runs indicating stuff differently, but it's definitely something to pay attention to, although I am questioning what the pattern is going to look like at like 500 millibars or 250 millibars. Like if we go ahead and show you the wind speed and kind of that setup right there, we are looking at a potential ridge trough pattern, at least for setting this whole thing up. And then you have that low pressure system moving through, so we're going to have to pay attention to that as this thing starts to bury through. But still, this is advocating for over, in some areas, 18 inches of snow in parts of Maryland. Not sure if that's going to happen, but if it does, that'll be a pretty interesting thing to cover. And definitely something to pay attention to. And it has areas like South Carolina getting close to 2 inches of snow, which I believe that part of it's a bit unrealistic, but we'll pay attention to it as more data continues to come in. Now we're going to go ahead and show you the European model. This is the 0Z right here. The 12Z is coming out as we speak, but it's not fully out, so we're not going to be using that in this video right here. So here's the 0Z model right here, and really showing a lot of stuff right here, similar to the GEM GDPS. It has this huge rain system moving through California, bringing even more rain to the area. I'm not sure if it's going to be around for the Super Bowl or not. We're about 10 days out, and we have another system moving through, so we'll have to pay attention to that, of course. But then you have this thing really moving through the mountains, and then this thing ramps up as a low-pressure system through much of the deep south and then moves offshore of the United States right there. And here's what we have for the total snow accumulation. Yeah, it's not showing really anything there from what we were looking at, although both the 0Z and 12Z yesterday were showing very interesting situations. The 0Z yesterday was pulling up potentially up to 2 feet of snow for parts of West Virginia, and even in the mountains of North Carolina right there, which, if that actually verifies, I would be absolutely shocked right there. So we'll have to pay attention to it, and this is what the 12Z looks like. And the 12Z was a bit different. It had more of the snow impacting much of New York, Pennsylvania, but it had a lot of snow impacting much of the Outer Banks and the Carolinas right here, especially the coast right there. So it kind of goes to show that each model run is going to be completely different from itself. And until we see a general consensus of what we're looking at for that area, we're going to have to take it with a grain of salt. But in the meantime, things are looking pretty active for the mountains. Things are looking pretty active for Oregon, Washington, California, and even into parts of Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, where there could be some potential lake effect going on over there around the time of the Super Bowl. Now we're going to go ahead and show you the GFS run that we have pulled up right here. Here is the GFS for the winter. We're actually going to go ahead and start with the surface temperature and see what those temperatures are going to look like before we move into to that. Here's what we have for the Super Bowl around Super Bowl weekend right here. For a lot of the areas going on over here, this is what we have going on. Temperatures in much of California and San Francisco, where this is going to be at, is going to be around the mid-50s, maybe lower 60s if we get a little bit lucky by the time the Super Bowl starts. So it's not going to be like the Bills-Steelers game where there's going to be a massive amount of snow, or the Chiefs-Dolphins game where it was extremely cold and not a lot of the players could really move properly. It's a lot harder to play a sport in the cold than it is in the heat. I know from experience, but anyway, yeah, it's pretty crazy for much of the deep south, around mid 60s, lower to mid 60s for much of the area right there. But in the Midwest, pretty much anywhere from like 33 to like mid 30s to mid 40s. So that's pretty much your typical Super Bowl situation that we have. Now for precipitation speaking right here, we have this system moving through California, bringing a lot of snow to the mountains, especially the Sierra Nevadas right there. And then around the time of the Super Bowl, we do start to see some potential rainfall right there. This is the Thursday beforehand, and really another part of the atmospheric river starts to crash, not just through California, but also Oregon and Washington, potentially bring some pretty big flash flooding events over there as we continue to look at that. And then as time continues to go on, it starts to move down to the south, bring some rainfall to LA and San Diego over there, and they absolutely do not need that rain. Hell, the GFS is even suggesting Las Vegas could get some rain from this, but keep in mind this is like 2 weeks out, so please take this with a huge grain of salt. I'm not going to particularly trust this just yet. In fact, if we go ahead and show you another run, it shows something completely different around that time. Although that atmospheric river situation is still going to be happening all over the place, so we're going to have to pay very close attention to that as we get closer to the Super Bowl. We'll update you on another Super Bowl forecast next week as we continue to get more data and as we continue to get closer to the Super Bowl. But in the meantime, enjoy the NFC and AFC championship games. I know I absolutely will. I will be watching those as by the time this video goes out. I'm recording this at like 1:30 in the afternoon, and the game's supposed to start. The AFC championship is supposed to start in a half an hour by the time I get this all out. So, well, not by the time I get this all out, by the time I'm done recording, excuse me. By the time I get this all out, it will already be going. So we'll have to see what happens as time continues to go on. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and close the video out right here. I really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps us out, helps us make more videos like these. The goal of this channel, as always, is to get more people engaged with weather. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.